Zooey Mama! How's it going, everybody? I'm here to talk about the top 5 scariest, most intimidating cards to play against in Marvel Snap. These cards are just a bit of a problem. When they come down, if your opponent plays them, you're probably a bit annoyed. You maybe just want to be against someone else. You don't want to be in the game anymore, okay? When you play them, your opponent probably feels the same way if they don't have any answer. So these are cards that specifically don't necessarily have the biggest impact right when they come down, but they are a herald for something to come, okay? They're a sign that some doom is on the way if you do not have an answer. And again, it's just really hard to play against these cards. They kind of mentally affect you, and they can be used as good bluffing triggers because you can play them and your opponent just feels uncomfortable if you're the one playing it. So you might be able to just bluff snap them to get them out of the game. So let's get into the top 5 scariest cards in Marvel Snap. So first up, we've got Wong. Now, Wong isn't necessarily the best card in the game because he does get countered. I mean, you can stop him with Cosmo, you can stop him with Rogue, with Enchantress, you can move him with Magneto. He's got counters out there, and because of that, he will never be the best card. He's kind of in these more big wombo combo decks. But if you're playing a deck and you do not have Cosmo, or you don't have Enchantress, or you do, but they're at the bottom of your deck and you haven't drawn them, and your opponent plays Wong, you're kind of crapping your pants a bit, okay? You're like, oh gosh, what is coming? Are they going to hit me with Gambit? Are they going to do some hazmat shenanigans and slap Odin down? Are they just going to, pop off Silver Surfer or Spectrum, right? There's so many different things that can come out of this, even just the classic White Tiger plus Odin or, Doctor Doom Doombots. It's really annoying, okay? When you see Wong come down, if you cannot produce an answer for him right away on the very next turn, you're in trouble. And if your opponent snaps and you don't have an answer, you're retreating, okay? Because this card, he's just a bad sign. If you don't have an answer, Wong is big trouble for your game. So he gets my number 5 spot. Coming in at number 4, I've got Invisible Woman. Now, this is a card that I've used to climb to infinite rank countless times because your opponent just doesn't know what you're playing. Okay, if you play cards behind Invisible Woman, you have multiple turns where you're just playing stuff and your opponent can't see what you're playing, but you can see what they're playing as long as they're not also playing behind Invisible Woman. And that can be really intimidating, okay? I mean, if you see your opponent play this card and maybe you saw them play some discard stuff, you're like, okay, they probably have MODOK and Hela behind it. But if you don't see them play discard, if you just see them play like a crystal, you're like, well, what the heck is behind that? Okay, are they setting up a Wong behind it? Are they setting up some Gambit, Wong, Odin shenanigans? Are they doing some ongoing Tribunal deck like what I like to play? I mean, you just don't know, okay? And even Cosmo isn't a great answer here. Again, if they are going for some ongoing Tribunal, Wombo combo stuff, Cosmo isn't doing anything against that. And it's just really scary. I mean, it just is. Unless you have Alioth will just blow up everything behind Invisible Woman. So it's an extremely hard counter. But if you don't have that and you're not sure what kind of deck your opponent is running, Invisible Woman is a very scary card, especially when your opponent snaps after seeing what you do and you just have no idea what kind of power they're putting out. So she gets my number 4 spot. At number 3, I've got the God of Mischief, Loki himself. Now, Loki is a card a lot of players are frustrated with, most notably because when he was first released, he was absolutely busted, okay? I still think he's really strong, and in fact, I would say he's the strongest and most powerful card on this list that I'm going over today. But he was absolutely insane when he first got released. He was really annoying to play against. So a lot of players just hate seeing Loki. Okay, your opponent plays Loki and you're just automatically pissed. Okay, but even if that's not the case, even if you don't have some grudge against Loki, even if you don't get PTSD of the month where he was released as a season pass card, he's still scary to play against. Okay, it's intimidating. See, when your opponent plays Loki, you know kind of what they're getting. They're getting your cards for cheaper, but you don't know exactly which cards. You essentially have to play around your entire deck. You don't know if they got your tech cards like your Shang-Chi or Enchantress or Legion. Maybe they got your synergistic cards that don't help them. If they got like Hela but they hadn't discarded anything. I mean, you just have no idea, okay? It would be different if you could see what cards your opponent copied. That would make you feel a lot better. Loki would have much less negativity towards him if your opponent could see which cards you copied. But at the end of the day, you essentially have to assume your opponent copied the absolute best things from your deck and is getting them out for cheaper. And that's really scary and intimidating to play against. And oftentimes if you play against Loki, you just wish you were facing some other deck entirely. So he gets my number 3 spot for being so dang annoying. At number 2, I've got Supergiant. Now Supergiant is still relatively new, and she's not the most obvious, best card or easiest to play or build around, so we haven't seen her too much. But when you do, it's kind of annoying, okay? At least it's been really annoying for me. It is intimidating. You see her come down on turn 4, and you know that on turn 5, your stuff isn't going to reveal, but neither is your opponent's. And if they were the ones playing Supergiant, they obviously planned for that. So they're potentially hiding something tricky on turn 5. Maybe they're hiding an Absorbing Man to copy an Alioth or something, just something kind of annoying. Or they're hiding an on-reveal card, and on turn 6 they slap down Wong, and then after the game, that card triggers with Wong in extra time. So they could just do some really annoying things. You can assume that if your opponent plays Supergiant, they also have Alioth, and they're planning to just Alioth your card. Okay, whatever card you play on turn 5 that doesn't reveal until after the game ends, you can assume it's just going to die. So often, at least when I'm playing, I try to adjust my play and play 2 smaller cards on different lanes. That way my opponent can only Alioth one of them. But even then, maybe I'm going for suboptimal play. It's just annoying. I don't think Supergiant is the strongest card or like amazing, definitely not overpowered. But it's just really annoying. It's a bit frustrating. And I think if she does ever become meta, if she sees, just a decent amount of play in like a near the top meta deck, people are going to complain about her. And my number 1 scariest card in the game is none other than Daredevil. Daredevil's ability is extremely, extremely unique. It's essentially cheating. You essentially get to cheat, but only for 1 turn, on turn 5. And that's really hard to play against, okay? And Daredevil's been around a long time. He's a pool 3 card. I'm sure you've played him. You've played against him a lot. He's really annoying. Regardless of what deck he is in, he could be, in a deck with Supergiant. He could be in a deck that's planning to Galactus you. I mean, there's some annoying combos he's paired up with, but regardless, he's just tough to play against. I mean, turn 5, you hate it when you're against Daredevil. It is the worst feeling in the game. If your board's about even and you don't have a great turn 5 play, and you just, play like the best thing you got and it's not great, and your opponent snaps, you're probably just retreating, okay? And vice versa, if you're the one playing Daredevil and it's turn 5 and you're ahead on board, or you're about even on the board and you see your opponent play kind of a weak turn 5 play, you just snap. You can just bluff snap them to retreat, even if your turn 5 play isn't good either, because you get to see what they're doing, they don't get to see what you're doing, okay? Unless they have their own Daredevil and they cancel out. So he's really tough to play against, and again, he's essentially cheating, but it's only for 1 turn, okay? If you could have Daredevil's effect every turn, imagine you could do that, or imagine your opponent did that and they could just see what you're doing every single turn before they lock in their own. You would stop playing the game, okay? You would win some games still, but you would lose most of them, and you would just stop playing. You'd be like, hey, my opponent is literally cheating. They can see what I'm doing. I can't see what they're doing. It's not fair. So those are my top 5 scariest, most intimidating cards in Marvel Snap. If you liked these type of videos, go ahead and like this video and subscribe. I do plan to continue this top 5 series on a somewhat regular basis. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. If I missed any cards, let me know what you think are the scariest, most intimidating cards to play against. And until then, stay positive. I'll see you next time.